Hey guys, what's going on? So today I'd like to talk about the 3D photo capabilities in Facebook. So there's a couple different approaches to doing it. Some people have cameras that can do the process automatically. There's also a way of going into Photoshop and just hand making a gray map to simulate the depth of a photo. But here I'm going to show you how to use Cinema 4D to use its depth map capabilities. So here, let's just show you a couple examples of what I'm talking about. So you can see when you roll, it's not like 3D as if you could like navigate through the scene like in a video game or something. But let's look at a couple more. And here I've done some volumetric lighting and a little bit of depth of field. See something like this with more perspective in the photo. The effect is a little bit more pronounced. And here we go. Let's look at one more. And it can be a really nice way of kind of jazzing up your Facebook page. All right, so let's jump into Cinema 4D. And here I've got a pretty simple setup. I've just got a cylinder that's just set to 6 sides, and then I've got that inside a cloner. And I've just got that set to a circular pattern. And then I've got a camera set up. I don't even have a focus object, but this value right here is going to come to play quite a lot. And I can adjust it here with this slider, or I can go in and just grab the orange dots in the scene and adjust it that way. And now an important thing to set up is on our render settings. And now here I'm just using the standard render, but I'm enabling multipass. Now here I don't even have save set up. And in multipass I have RGB image and depth set up. And you would just go in here and just go, well, I guess they're not here anymore because I've chosen them already. Alright, so now let's look at this through our camera, and that's important when you've created your camera that you're looking through it and that it is set as the render view. Alright, so now let's take a quick render at what we've got. So now you can see here I have it set, so this is showing our RGB image, and this is showing our depth map. So let's give another render here, and I'm going to turn on this render field, and this is just a plain effector with a random field in the fallout that has a color remapping that I've set this gradation to. And that is also affecting the height parameter. So now let's make sure that we're looking through our camera. Make sure this is checked where we want it to be. And I'm going to get in there a little bit more. Something like that. I'm going to hit Shift R. And here I'm in my single pass rather than just image. So here we're seeing this is our RGB image, and here's our depth map. And now how much of this is white and how much where the black is really determined by let's move this over a little bit. is determined by here. Let's go into our top view. By this value, the focus value. So here, let's turn off our random field just for a second, just so we can see those orange dots. So this also has an effect. Our focal length, you know, how much telephoto or wide angle we've got going on. So I'm going to make it a little bit more a close angle, and I'm going to bring our focus depth in a little bit, and then let's turn our random field back on. Go back into our view, hit Shift R, and now we can see, you know, a little bit different here. Let's go back into our history. And we'll look at some of these. See, this was the last one. And so those are going to be the tools that you'll really use the most to modify your depth map. And then a couple ways of rendering this out. You could in your save. You could save it as a Photoshop document and have multi-layer file set up, and then what you'll end up with is just a single layer with your RGB image, and in your channels you'll have your depth map. Alright, so hold on, and then we'll jump into Photoshop and see how we can separate those. Alright, here we are in Photoshop. And as you can see, we've got a single layer that has our RGB image. And let's go into channels. And we've got RGB, red, green, blue, and our depth channel. So let's just hit Control A and Control C. And we'll go into layers, create a new layer, and then Control V, and there's our depth map. Alright, so now let's start saving this stuff. So I've hit our depth layer, and I'm just going to hit Shift Control Alt S, and we will save for web. Let me get this so you can see it here, and just have it to maximum, whatever it is, as long as it's JPEG. And we'll save that. And let's go to where we're putting this. Alright, and let's just call this hex. Alright, now make our depth layer visible, and once again Control Shift Alt S, and same settings, and save. And now we're going to call this, instead of just hex, call it hex underscore depth. And we'll save it. Alright, so now let's go back out and open Photoshop or Facebook. And now we're going to take this and we're going to publish it. Alright, and you can go in and, you know, say open, but I like to just drag it right in there. I usually think that works pretty good. So I'm just going from an Explorer window. Let's see if I can make this a little closer so it's more obvious. I just grab hex, drag it over. And it's kind of thinking about it a little bit. Then I grab hex depth, and grab it, and then now the magic starts to happen. Takes a moment for it to figure it out, but then there we have it. And this was with a minimum of adjusting the properties of the camera, the focal depth, and the angle of the lens. So that's usually the part where I'm kind of spending the most time. You know, because once you've got the RGB image, you might still go through many iterations of the depth map to really get the sort of perspective that you want. Alright, well, I hope this has been helpful, and I hope to see you publishing some 3D stuff on Facebook soon. Bye.